John, it's been a few weeks since it was publicly announced that you'll be transitioning roles and taking over our men's national team and all the hierarchy under that team as well. As you kind of square up to the challenge with fresh eyes and ears now, what are your thoughts at this stage?
I think still excited. It's the men's game, I think, is in a good position to springboard forward. The challenge is, it's a big mountain. Many a coach and many a technical director's tried to climb it. And I think, climbing this mountain, if we can get to the top and we can take this team where everyone wants it to go, which is to a World Cup through qualification, we can really change the game in our country. And that sort of pressure is something that, I want to thrive under. I want to go towards and embrace that type of opportunity.
I think as people will reflect over the years on your time with the women's national team, of course there'll be the back-to-back Olympic medals, which as Canadian fans we're all grateful for. But as much as that, the hierarchy you set out, the alignment within the program, the bringing the young players through, which continues to this day, will certainly be the legacy. I assume that's something you're looking to replicate now on the men's side of the Canadian program.
You have to custom make that for the men's side. It's a different landscape. There's some similarities, similar challenges, coast to coast, geographical challenges. But there's also a lot of positives on the men's side. We have an MLS system here. That's a gift in our hands in being able to, have an Excel pathway already established for a lot of players. It's now about, understanding that landscape better. It's about how we can define what Excel means on the men's side. We were very clear what Excel meant on the women's side, but defining it on the men's different, and getting agreement around a definition, getting agreement around a philosophy and some of the principles that will guide the decision making on how we develop the players, where we develop them, and more importantly, how we track them through to the men's national team, and how we create synergies across CPL, MLS, provincial structures, private academies, so that in many ways all roads lead to producing the best professional players we've ever produced.
I've heard you talk a lot over the years about gap analysis. I know it's something you took very seriously on the women's side. There is obviously a gap for the men's national team. We haven't qualified for the Hex in 20 years. How big is that gap? And as you begin to assess the challenge of what we need to do to qualify for the Hex and to maybe mount a chance at qualifying for World Cup, how much work is there?
Well, I think you go right to where it starts, is the playing resource. I mean, when you talk about World Cup qualification, you're talking about the group of players that we have now currently, and then projecting what those players will be in the future based on the system, the people we have out in professional football at 18, 19, 20, 21 to 23. And you think about qualification, it will come down to a group of men that are tactically organised. They have chemistry, they have team spirit, but they also have that competency to be able to deliver. I think people can see with players like Scott Arfield, Junior Hoylett, Atiba for however long he hangs in for, there's a core there. There's genuinely a core, and I think people can get excited about that. But when you look at the gaps are some of it's systemic. Some of it's our, at times, ad hocness, our inability to look at innovation in high performance, to put true high performance systems around our players, sports science. A major gap that I'm hearing is the mental side. I know on the women's side, we prided ourselves in having a very coherent mental program and plan to support performance under pressure. And the men's side, players, staff have fed back that hasn't been a part of what we've gone towards. So automatically, there are some gaps, even in the short term in the men's program, that we can start plugging.
You're going to walk into that changing room in March in Spain for your first camp as head coach of the men's national team. I know when you inherited the women's national team, you were picking them up from rock bottom. Yeah. This is a slightly different scenario. What's your first message to this group of men?
Legacy. It's as simple as that. We need an absolute purpose for playing, a clear purpose for playing. And that to me is the foundation behind it all. What these men are prepared to do with that jersey. They're custodians of that shirt for a period of time. And what are they prepared to leave behind? When they put that shirt down, whether it's in a year's time, 2 years' time, what have they left for this country?
You've got about a 6-month runway until the CONCACAF Nations League kicks off. I know you've already started with meetings and consulting people in the community to define your plan, I suppose. What happens now?
Well, I'm new to a role, so you're on a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Not often people have a 30, 60, 90-day plan where you've got a game in the middle of it somewhere, and it's a big You know, it's a big opportunity to connect with your players. So you're balancing. You're balancing a whole raft of different priorities. The different priorities I'm balancing are a high performance review on the men's national team, at the same time building towards a review on the Excel pathway, building towards, in the Excel pathway, bringing in world's best practice. We've never done that. So going out and examining some of the key countries that we know we can learn from to come back and establish and define what Excel is. So our people can all buy into not a John Herdman plan, but a philosophy that's built on evidence. It's built on best practice, and then it's built on people's opinions in this country about what's right. Then connect with that group of men. Give that group of men real clarity about what this next 4 years is. We're not talking game to game now. We're reverse engineering back from a 2022 Qatar, so players can see as a 32-year-old or a 34-year-old what role they're going to have in taking this team forward, and a 21-year-old what his future could look like as we move forward. And just bringing systemic structure to that whole high-performance system. And when I talk about systemic structure, it's about plans, processes, policies, approaches where if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that rolls on. It isn't starting from scratch again, and it's best practice. It's a big mountain, but like I say, with any mountain, you find your way to climb it. You've got to plan that. You've got to put the right people around you, put the right infrastructure in place of people with very clear, defined tasks, and connect the top of the Excel to the bottom of the Excel. No more disconnect, no more silos, no more coaches worrying about their team and their competition and their results and their careers. It's a very purposeful activity to say one purpose. As many top-class players in the highest professional environments we can, so they can serve the men's national team and serve their country. And that's our purpose.